shit.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hello. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Rainy Saturday morning, or was it Saturday? I said Saturday. I wish it was Saturday, but no. You're all very welcome to our product roadmap talk this morning here at Unity Central. And we've got a really packed talk, so I'm just going to get going. There's probably going to be some people who are probably running a little bit late. Today, we're really focused on the runtime and the editor. There's some great talks later in the week that will be dealing with the ads and analytics products, but really I'm just here to talk to you today about the editor and the runtime, all the great stuff coming this year. My name is Andrew Bowell, and I head up our product team at Unity. So we're responsible basically for helping our R&D teams with their roadmaps based on all the great feedback that you guys provide us and our wider community. So today we basically got two main sections. We're going to deal with how Unity releases, because if you watched the keynote last night, you may have seen that we're making some changes there around how we deliver Unity to you guys. And then, of course, the roadmap. That's the meat of the talk, and we'll get stuck in there. And ideally, I'd love to take some questions at the end. Our product management team are here, dotted around the place, and they can help dive into some of the deeper questions you guys may have about what we're doing. So let's get going. How Unity releases. So, of course, our number one goal is always to ensure we release the highest quality, robust, and stable product each time. But we also recognize that there's basically, you guys have different needs depending on where you are in your production. So sometimes you want to be on the cutting edge of what we're doing. You're in pre-production prototyping. You want to be seeing what we're doing. And other times you want to bed down into production and stick with a particular version of Unity. And we also have some requirements from our side where we really want to engage with you while we're developing features. We want a way to rapidly iterate. So we've taken a look at all of this, and we have a new approach to how we tackle this. So I'm going to run you through these four aspects. The tech release stream, what we're now calling our long-term supported stream, our new packages system, and of course I want to just touch on our beta. So let's get started with the tech release. This is actually what you know today, but with one very important change. Well, two really. So first being, there's 3 releases a year now of our tech release stream. So this will be what you know, 2018.1, 2018.2, 2018.3, spring, summer, and fall. What's really important here is that the patches that we ship to each of these are going to span between these releases and only between these releases. So we'll ship 2018.1, and we'll ship patches up until we hit 2018.2, at which time we'll shift to shipping patches for 18.2. So just think of this as the tech release stream. This is the place to be for engaging with us on everything that we're doing, right at the tip of the spear. But we know, and as I mentioned, and recognize that, that you also have a need to bed down on a version of Unity, and this is behavior we see from you all the time. So we know that there's still people on 5.6, 2017.1, and that's perfectly fine. And what actually happens there behind the scenes is that we end up with a lot of overlapping releases which we've got to ship patches for. And what we'd much rather do is consider a system where we take one of the versions of Unity and support it for a much longer period of time. And that's going to be our long-term supported. I did this, I'm not an artist, so excuse my animations here. So in 2017, we shipped our 17.1, 17.2, and 17.3 releases. And what's going to happen is we're going to take our 17.3 release, and this will become a long-term supported version of Unity that we're committed to maintaining critical and patches, bug fixes for 2 years. We'll also take any platform changes, any major changes to the platform ecosystem, and make sure they're supported. The key thing is we're not adding new functionality into this. And then 2018.1, 2018.2, 2018.3, our tech release stream will continue. And of course, at the end of the year, we'll take our 18.3 release, and that will become our 18.1 LTS. So what's nice about this is you get these overlapping years of LTS. So if you are in a long production, we'll ensure that migrating from one LTS to the next is a very, very, very well-worn route. We'll make sure we provide you with a really smooth upgrade between those two things, so that if you want to, you can make that choice. And of course, this continues, rinse and repeat each year. So key thing, LTS is going to be supported for 24 months. There's going to be this nice 12-month overlap between LTSs, only for bug fixing and critical platform updates. No new functionality, most importantly. Okay, I'm sure you may have some questions on that. Let's take them at the end, if that's okay with everybody. So we've covered our two main release streams, this tech release and our long-term supported. Let's dig in one level now and discuss how we're evolving Unity and how we develop our features. So we've had this requirement where we want to iterate with you on what we're doing. We want to get feedback from as soon as we feel we have like a minimal viable feature. We want to get it in your hands and iterate. So our package manager system, which is part of our 18.1 release, is how we're going to enable this. And what I want to key takeaway for you guys today is that we have these 3 phases for packages, which I want to run through. So the first is a preview package. And I'm going to talk about a number of things in this roadmap talk that are going to be in this preview stage. And this is all about us getting the tech into your hands. It's not ready for production, but you can absolutely use it in prototyping, pre-production. Give us feedback, and we can actually make updates to those rapidly. We're going to use semantic versioning for all of our packages, so you'll know when we're actually doing just dot release, bug fix, making some minor updates, or really actually this is a major update to a package. We'll have a released phase, which means our team QA have vetted the package. It's ready for release. This is something which you could take and bed in on a little bit more, but it's not verified as being as working with all of the other packages in a given Unity release. And that's what this last label means, which is basically a verified package. It's verified for a given Unity release. So packages move in through this flow, a feature comes in, 1.0, we iterate with you guys, it gets to 1.6. This is what we feel is ready to go out. It's QA'd and ready for prime time, and then it's verified against the 18.2 release, for example. So a really great way for us to decouple this long release cycle with our feature development for you. And last thing I want to touch on is our beta. So first of all, really big thank you to everybody. Our beta population for 18.1 was the biggest we've had since we've moved to a more frequent release cadence. It's great because our core is still evolving. Packages isn't how we get validation and verification on our core. It is through our beta cycle. So we're really growing our beta community. We really want to provide a sort of a vibrant place you can come in. You can really get a sort of a head start on what we're doing. Give us feedback. We obviously take a lot of the bug fixing and the bug reports that you provide us there. We act on them immediately. So again, thank you for that. Okay, that's the housekeeping done, and get into the more exciting stuff now about our product and what we're doing. So I'm going to go through these product goals. When we get all your feedback, we have a number of different ways that we stack rank it and prioritize it. And of course, quality, making sure we're a productive engine, performance, these are typically the three things that you guys really care about. And then, of course, there's customization, extensibility, and lots of new features. But the way I wanted to present things to you today is around the big initiatives that we have ongoing in R&D right now. And the first of those is broadening usability. I'm going to run through these. This is how I'll walk through the roadmap. So I'm going to jump straight into broadening usability. What does this mean? It's very simple. It's simply that Unity should empower everybody to create and collaborate equally. Regardless of your role, Unity should provide what you need to get to the outcome that you desired. And we're doing a number of different things, both for artists, for users more generally, to enable that. And this is actually the first thing we're doing, which is has broad applicability. It's for all users, the Unity Hub. So this is a standalone application now that ships. It replaces the home screen that you're familiar with. It's part of our 18.1 release. This is actually a preview of some of the direction we're heading with the UX. So it doesn't actually look like this when you download it, but the functionality is the same. We release this out of band, so you'll actually get a chance to, we'll be able to push out updates to this very frequently. So key thing, you can install and manage all of your versions of Unity. This has been a long time request. Second thing, you can manage your projects. You can identify which version of Unity is connected to which project, and there's a few very just useful features in there about being able to copy it, find it in your project, find it on your disk, and so on and so forth. Templates. So this is a big deal for us. As we move into a more package-managed world, where Unity is essentially, we can compose Unity differently depending on your outcome, we want a way to get you started there. So a good example of this, of course, is something I'll come to later, which is our scriptable render pipelines, where, for example, if you want to build a high-end VR experience or a high-end console title, we just provide you with a template to get you started, pull in the correct packages, do some presets, make sure that everything's ready to go, so that we sort of try and roll out the red carpet to get you started. This is very extensible. We'll be adding in more and more templates as we go, and we hope to allow this functionality to actually be something you can customize down the line as well. Last thing to say is, it's also a great place for us to extend our outreach, our learning outreach to everybody. So, and I just want a quick shout out, actually, there's something on your seats there. We're running a lot of training sessions now for all of the features that I'm going to go through today. And Liana is around at the back there, so you can reach out to her at the end to find out more about the training sessions that we're doing on all of the features I'm going to talk about. Right, so we've talked about the hub. Let's talk about some of the real first piece of real broader usability that we're adding to Unity, world building. So for all the game and level designers out there, I'm sure you've all been in this typical scenario where you want to quickly mock up something in Unity and you're using stretchy cubes and cylinders and spheres to knock something together. Or you've got some asset store geometry or a package and you want to get in touch with the creator, maybe ask them to update something or change the UVs. Or it could be just something as simple as I just want to rapidly prototype up a vehicle in Unity. So we made the announcement earlier this year that we have the Pro Builder team now. They're full part of Unity. So the Pro Builder package is now available with Unity 18.1 as a package, and has all the great things. It's a real mix of the best parts of being able to quickly do some level geometry creation, but also useful parts such as being able to update UVs and just make some really fine-grained control to existing models. So we'll be supporting this natively, and that's a really big deal, I think, for us to bring something into Unity, know that it's now going to be shipped as part of the product, each release verified, and so on, and have a consistent UX through. procedural shapes, again, a really useful way to quickly and rapidly iterate. So, moving on, ProGrids, this is solving one of the major pain points we know that are out there, that's out there with a product around being able to really quickly, precisely work in the editor, grid snapping, being able to really use all the quick shortcuts to snap things together and move things around. This is available, this will be available at 18.2, again, as part of the full part of the product. Terrain. So in this world-building context, our terrain system has been a little neglected, I will say, and I'm very pleased to announce that we're making this year. This is the year it gets its major update. So one of the first things we did was actually look at the performance of the terrain. So there's some really big performance boosts there, a huge reduction in the number of GC allocs. I think like a doubling of just raw CPU performance. But more importantly, we just wanted to focus on the creation. So we've looked at, and there's a longer roadmap for terrain. This is really the first major update that we'll be doing in 18.2. But lots of new brushes, new UX, and we're going to be focusing on brushes in Unity in general, and you'll see this will be a kind of a longer term shift for us. I mean, there's many parts of your workflow where you'll want a consistent way to use brushes to do, mesh sculpting, texture painting, asset painting, and we want to take a unified approach. The polybrush system is the first way we'll be updating this. It's going to be coming with 18.3, and then we'll see ourselves basically make a consistent approach to how we do painting throughout the engine. Awesome. So last but not least, 2D. We released our tile mapping technology, quick, rapid way to build up 2D levels. We're shipping a preview, so this comes back to just understanding how we want to work with you guys, a preview of our sprite shape technology with 18.1. And this is a really fun way to organically create levels and layout in your 2D world. Lots of nice spline-based layout tooling, and a really awesome way to work inside of Unity. So, recap, where are we? 2018.1, we're shipping our ProBuilder integration, preview of our sprite shape. 2018.2, ProGrids and our terrain improvements are dropping, and at the end of the year, Polybrush. Awesome. Now, so the next bit of broadening usability is all about artists and any of the animators in the room. So, DCC round tripping. And this follows on very nicely from our world-building technology. So a lot of the workflows we see is all about gray boxing in Unity. And what we're doing here is allowing you to just basically create that round trip with the DCC tool. So any DCC tool basically supporting FBX. Now, of course, not all DCC tools are created equally, and we've focused in on some of the Autodesk products here. So with Maya, for example, you can round trip with their Stingray shader, so you can basically bring the look translates directly into Unity. And then the other really cool thing we're announcing today, one of our developer sessions, is round tripping on animation. And this is really cool, and there's lots of really interesting use cases for this. This is just one example where you do some gameplay, you record some gameplay inside of Unity. You can export this back into Maya. And then this comes back to some of our philosophy in Unity of really wanting to use the right tool for the right job. So the concept of world building in Unity is just about being able to rapidly prototype. We're not trying to replace any of the kind of functionality that the most powerful DCC tools have. And this is a perfect example where you can work quickly in Unity, create some animations, export into Maya, and then use all the power of Maya to really make sure you get the look and feel that you want there. So there's going to be a longer talk on this at our Dev Day session later on today. And this is coming in preview in 18.2. So following on from animation, we're also shipping our preview of our character animation technology with 18.1. This is the first phase. It's a really cool way of basically bringing your sprites to life. It's a full-blown system for sprites. You can work directly in the editor, do paint weighting, paint on all your weights. You can add in IK solvers and basically key all this stuff up directly in Unity. It's really, really fun. But this is a really good example. We sort of see two really definitive phases to this. We want to get it out to you. It's very functional. Some examples here, what you can do. But we really want your feedback. We want to iterate on it and get it to a phase 2 later in the year. So this is available. You can actually go grab this in our forums today. OK, I love this stuff. So if there's any refugees out here from the Flash community, this will be really exciting. So we're adding in, we have a longer-term vision for the editor to really bring in 2D vector graphics. This is the first part. We're dropping in native support for SVG import into Unity. So you can basically bring in, you've got really nice tessellation options. We support runtime tessellation, CSS styling. And I mean, like if you haven't used this before, it really is, we actually support, we sort of follow what's known as the tiny SVG 1.2 spec. This is a really full set of SVG support. Lots of really cool little stylized 2D games, HTML5, I can imagine lots of use cases there. So we're really excited about this. OK, Text Mesh Pro. Again, we announced this last year. It's now available in Unity 18, will be available in Unity 18.2. What does that mean? Well, one of the things it means is we've been able to just unify the UX. So it now really looks and feels like it's really part of the Unity product. And that's a big deal for us as we bring technology into the product. Lots of improved UX. And then we've been adding and expanding on some of the requests we've got from you, adding in new color modes and keyboard navigation, just being able to iterate really quickly inside the editor. OK, so that's touches on most of the 2D pieces. Speaking of some of the first pieces of broadening usability, we shipped Timeline last year. And thanks to all of your great feedback, we've been landing in some really, really great improvements to the product around its usability. So lots of keyboard shortcuts. But one of the really cool features that I've been playing with myself is the new linear editing mode. So if you're used to Premiere or Final Cut, you'll know kind of these ripple and replace styles of dropping clips into your timeline. So we're adding in this concept of mixing, where you can drop in a clip and it blends beautifully, or a ripple which inserts and makes room in the timeline, or finally a replace which does a direct cut into your timeline. And this is something which really increases your iteration times inside the editor. And that's available as part of 18.1. So if any of you caught the keynote last night, you'll see some of this technology demonstrated. This is extensions to Cinemachine. So Cinemachine and Timeline are two very synergistic tools. Cinemachine is smart cameras for Unity. And we're extending this to support storyboards. So most people's design process typically starts out with, what's the vision? What are we trying to accomplish? And you'll typically start storyboarding. And what may end up happening is a lot of your storyboarding and reference material ends up over here, and you're working over here with Unity. And you really want to be able to ideally bring these two things together. So you can set up storyboards, bring your storyboards directly into Unity, use the sequencing tools. And then when you're looking at reference material, being able to bring in all the different references and actually set up your color grading directly on your reference material is really, really powerful. Now, I'm not by any means a professional user of tools like DaVinci, but I'm told this is what you come to expect with tools like that, and this is available directly in Unity with 18.1. Interactive noise editing. This is basically camera shake. It's being able to add in noises and impulses into your camera. And this editor actually will work with any kind of signal. So can actually be extended to use with more than just our Cinemachine tracks. So foot shake and so on. And finally, post-process blending. So you're all familiar with our post-process stack. So this is really just some people prefer to do post-process blending on the camera itself, and that's something which we've added support in, and made good use in with our Neon demos that we did earlier this year. Okay, so we'll talk about post-processing shader graph. This is our built-in shader editing tool, shipping with 18.1, and like really for me, this is all about opening up the ability to do shader editing for anybody. This demo was actually put together by one of our Andy, one of our evangelists. He is not an artist, nor is he a graphics or rendering engineer, but he was pretty quickly able to put this together. One of the key pieces here is this ability to get previews all the way through the process, and really be able to understand and predict the end result through all the operations. The post-processing stack, this was available separately from Unity, now available as ships fully with Unity in 18.1. So it has most of the stack that you're familiar with already: color grading, bloom, AO, SSR, and so on. One of the key pieces we added at the top there, volume blending. So this is a really nice way to create basically volumes in your level, and then be able to interpolate between the post-processing stacks that you've set up. And it really allows you to add in atmosphere and intensity in certain parts of your level. And this, as I understand it, I haven't played with it myself, but this will work with more than just our post-processing stack. So it actually lets you blend between any set of essentially of tracks. So particle system, we've been making a ton of really cool updates to our particle system. We've added, most recently with 18.1, orbital velocity and texture shape module. But there's one more thing about VFX which is really, really cool. So pleased to announce that we're working and will be releasing in preview in the summer a fully featured VFX editor. So this is, again, if you're used to using VFX technology from the movie industry, this is a fully node-based VFX editor. It works with our HD render pipeline, so we're really targeting this at the high-end experiences, fully programmable, absolutely GPU-backed to the nines, very, very extensible. And we're really, really excited to get this out. Come to Berlin, like we said last night, come over. We'll be talking a lot more about this in the summer. Okay, so to recap, 18.1, lots of timeline updates. We'll be supporting all of our new render technology with a shader graph and post-processing system. We have our 2D character animation technology and updates to storyboarding and noise editing for Cinemachine. 18.2 sees more 2D with our Text Mesh Pro, vector graphics support. The animation round tripping will be part of our 18.2 release, and finally, the preview of our VFX editor. So lots of really, really cool stuff there. Okay, moving to scalability and performance. So what's the initiative? What's the strategy behind this? Well, it's pretty simple for us. We just believe deeply that all of our users should have performance by default. It should just be there if you use Unity and you develop in a consistent way with our technology, that performance is gonna absolutely rock. And then when we talk about scalability, of course, with performance, you can have larger scale experiences, but we also mean scaling up your team and scaling up the size of project, how you work with Unity, and all the different needs that brings. And that's actually the first section. So scene management. You may have heard a little bit of an announcement, a little bit of news last night that we have nested prefabs officially on the roadmap, going to ship with 18.3. So major shout out to the team in R&D that's been working on this. And they've been taking a really, really thoughtful approach to how they've been building nested prefabs, working with all of you guys really deeply. We'll have some previews of this available in the summer. And I just want to talk about a couple of the things here. I mean, of course, just the ability to nest prefabs alone is really, really awesome. Helps you scale up your workflows. But we've also been uncovering some of these other kind of requirements. One is this concept of just inheritance. It's really useful to be able to just, if you're used to object-oriented programming, just to have a hierarchy and inheriting properties from a sort of a parent prefab, and you just want to override one property. You can actually more or less fake this with nested prefabs. And what we saw were people were getting themselves into kind of complex situations. So this is a really elegant way just to override a given property. So some examples, this is just changing the hub here on these wheels. The other thing is, when we observed artists working in Unity, there was a lot of, like right now to edit prefabs, you have to drag your prefab into the scene and edit, but also just as a general sense of nervousness when artists are working in Unity. They click on something and boom, all of a sudden, like these gizmos light up, they're not really sure what they're doing. So the prefab is an isolation mode for editing prefabs. So really cool, drop into it. You get these nice breadcrumbs here where you're down at like a scene, a totem, sphere stack into the sphere, and you can walk back up and down. It's really, really nice UX. So awesome prefabs are getting there, getting all the love this year. This will be available in 18.3. And then the other thing we observed is how people work with scenes as well. That they often just have this requirement to divide up their scenes into sort of logical groupings and have people work and check out those from source controlled, work differently. And the way we're going to solve this problem is, this is more like a code name at the moment, so this may change, but scene fragments, which just allows us to divide up our scenes into logical groups. And changes you make to one fragment don't dirty the scene. And it really makes collaboration a lot more flexible. I mean, I think there's some examples here, over here, of, you can see, allows us to do integration here with the little red dots, or green dots, and ticks to understand where things are in the process. Oops, darn, excuse me. Dropped out of, yikes. I said to myself, should I zoom or not? And this is now, how do I unzoom? Anybody know? Sorry about this. Oh, I know what to do. There we go. Brilliant, back to normal zoom. Okay, so what's the roadmap for this? 18.3, we are going to be shipping nested prefabs, prefab variants, and the prefab isolation mode will come as part of this. And then we're going to be working with this fragment concept as we move through the year. We'll engage with all of you, and we'd love to get your feedback. Okay, so where are the other bottlenecks in Unity? Where are the other places that people tend to give us feedback we want to scale up? Build pipeline's a big one for us. So we've been working on really demystifying and simplifying the process of building asset bundles in Unity. So right now, asset bundles have quite a steep learning curve. They're quite complex to really understand and really manage and get the result that you want. 18.2 sees us roll out this new addressable asset system. And it's really pretty straightforward. I mean, every asset has a unique address. So during development, there's a simple workflow there to work with assets. When you're building, in your build pipeline phase, we'll have a fully scriptable build pipeline. And then we'll be able to run, basically, asset loading in a couple of different ways. So one is what we're just calling fast mode, where you can do basically rapid iteration on device. It essentially doesn't build the bundles and just lets you quickly update and work with device. So it just removes that asset bundle build phase. The second thing is being able to profile, because this is a big part. What exactly is happening when my bundles are loading, my assets are streaming in. So this is just an example here of, for example, this bolt line here, sort of the first major big blue bar. White line is when the asset's loaded. You can see exactly how we track memory, and then you can follow along the timeline. So it really just gives you a real insight into how best to compose your bundles. The other thing here is that ultimately, it shouldn't matter where you're loading your bundle from. I mean, you give it an address, if it's on disk, if it's in the cloud, you just want to load that. So this will be available 18.2. We'll actually be doing, if you keep an eye on the forums, we'll be doing some outreach there again to share some preview builds of this ahead of time. Okay, the other thing to note is our cache server. So we have a longer-term goal here to really rework how Unity imports assets. So there's a longer-term plan there. In the meantime, we've been making big updates to our cache server. I just wanted to call that out here because this works right back to Unity version 3. And we've really fixed a lot of the kind of performance bottlenecks here. Yeah, I didn't get specific stats on this, but I do recommend you check this out. But what our longer-term plan is actually to really refactor how we're just reworking asset import as a whole in Unity. But please do check this out. And then with regard to iteration time, mentioned it earlier, but it's just this virtual play mode that we're going to be rolling out. Build configs. So by the end of the year for 18.3, we're removing this one-to-one relationship between your build config and your platform, just to let you to do kind of one-to-many and really allow you to manage all of your build configurations for your platforms. This is just, again, a bit of a mock of the UX here, so know that'll be updated over time. So overall, when we look at our build pipeline, big refactors. The big thing here is the refactor of our addressables and the asset bundle system. We're really excited to get that out. It's such a big part of operating your game these days. Okay, runtime code. So Joachim, are you here? No? I'd like to get him up here. So of course, this is a huge deal for us. Oh, is he here? Oh, awesome. Well, anyway, I'll save you having to run up. But so I'm just announcing your wonderful runtime code and your game code. No, I was just, I actually didn't think you'd be here, so I was just, there you go. Anyway, well, this is a huge, big initiative for us, changing how we basically want you guys to work with Unity. So good news, we announced the preview of all this technology last night at the keynote. The C# job system is actually something that we've had for some time and is almost getting to the point of being production ready. It's the first part of the puzzle here. So just being able to write in a really safe way, multi-threaded code, multi-threaded C# code, and being able to access basically the native data structures on the unmanaged side through native arrays. And then we've gone ahead and done that for our raycasting and pathfinding for you. And then, of course, the other really key piece here is this concept of our entity component system. And that's where this concept of performance by default, you follow this paradigm for writing code, and you will just get highly performant code. And it's going to be longer term, we'll be building in this concept of networking or multiplayer ready, so networking by default as well. And it really just allows us to scale up to any size of experience. Burst, which, to be quite honest, is a piece of magic as far as I can see. I did study computer engineering, but compilers were always a bit of a mystery to me. And this is really insane. So fully math-aware back-end compiler technology. And this is where the 100x comes from, like being able to leverage the job system, being able to properly lay out your data in the correct way for a given architecture, and then pushing it through this compiler is really where you get all of the big wins. So available in preview today. I think we actually brought down the Unity website last night because it generated so much interest, but I'm hoping that's all back up today. So please go and check this out. But when you look at the requirements for speed, they're actually very similar to the requirements for size. So we often think about the Formula One car or the race car where you're ripping out the AC and ripping out the back seats and getting it on the track and getting it to go as fast as possible. That's performance, but it's also appropriate for size. So this same set of technology allows us to really reduce the size of our executable right down to something which is really interesting for new use cases. And we're seeing those pop up right now. So playable ads is a big use case for many mobile developers. Messenger games, These both have requirements for really tiny executables. These ones, the first one you saw here, Fastlane with the cars, was originally a 2.6 megabyte download. Our solution gets that to 800K, so a 70% improvement. This is really exciting. I mean, I have, anybody wants to come up after, I have these on my phone, and it really is impressive how quickly they load and the fidelity there. Great. So what's the roadmap look like? Today, GDC, we announced our Nordeus sample content, our preview build. We have a forum area we're going to start engaging with. In our 18.1 release, the C# job system is available with the native arrays. And then previews, as I mentioned, of our entity component system and burst. 18.2, we're going to be bringing more subsystems across into our entity component system and job system world. Animation's the first of those. Burst support will be expanding. And then by the end of the year, we'll have burst support across all platforms, previews of our Unity for small things, and previews of our entity component system, and it's how we can work with multiplayer support. Okay, I'm going to pick up the pace here a little bit. So some of these updates now are more just good news for you and informational. So .NET Upgrade has been a long project for us. Really good news that it's going to be fully released, and we will be on a path to deprecating some of the old runtime. And part of this, to be honest, for us was tackling some of these issues as well. Thanks to all of your feedback, we know the TLS issues there, so we'll be supporting TLS 1.2. So, I mean, like for those of you who don't know, this is really just being about being able to access all the latest language features of C#. Our recommendation is, though, to target actually the smaller profile, which is the .NET Standard 2.0 profile. And we are aware that the build size, due to just some of these changes, has grown, and know that the team is on this, and they're working really hard to make sure that we have the most efficient, most optimal build size. In general, for scripting, one of the nice features, we're expanding our debugging support to IL2CPP code running on Android, for example. So this is really, really great for obviously developer experience, developer ergonomics, and of course we are really keying in on our build size and build times here. Okay, so roadmap for that, the new scripting runtime will be coming as part of 18.1, as in fully released, and then the managed debugger 18.2, and we'll be on a path to deprecating our older runtime. Okay. Rendering. So I would really recommend that you watch our keynote last night. There was a really great demo of a lot of this technology that I'm about to talk about now. I don't have time to dig into that level of depth, but basically you can see where we're on the path to here, to really delivering the sort of next level rendering quality to you for all of your platforms, and most importantly, in this customizable way, using the scriptural render pipeline. So you can make it your own. You can really see out your technical and creative ambition for your project. So what's available? First thing is the HD render pipeline. So this was the demo, and I'll just flick on to the next. This is a full screen. It looks a bit nicer. Let me just start that. So the big things here about this to me, and I think the one piece that Natasha talked about a lot, is this concept of a unified lighting and material model. And you don't realize how, I'm not a rendering programmer, but like how hard it is just to get all of these techniques and materials to work together in a unified way, your lighting, your materials, in all these different situations. And that's basically, that was one of their foundational principles behind this. So opaques, transparent, translutions, everything just goes. And whatever, it's predictable, you know how something's going to look, regardless of how you've set up the lighting. And these things all work together. And of course, the whole thing is performant. We were running this last night on a PS4 Pro, 30 frames a second. So this really is, this is of course the HD pipeline, and those are the platforms it's targeting, console and desktop. And as we go, we'll be absolutely expanding this to support XR and make sure this is for those high-end VR experience too. So on the other end of the other side is our lightweight rendering pipeline. So this is very much just being about optimized performance. And a couple of the other things to note here is, like, as you grab this technology, this is really a friendly pipeline. It's really accessible. Like, if you look at the HD pipeline, we're developing all of this in the open, by the way, so you get full source to a lot of this. There's a lot of code there for the HD pipeline. This is a lot more understandable. It's still an optimized PBR pipeline. It's a bit more simplified. Everything's still linear. And it's really great, of course, if you just want to get running across all of our platforms. Fully VR ready, by the way, so it has all stereo instancing, single pass, and so on and so forth. So for lighting, this was, again, a real sort of jaw-dropping demo for me, because I've been watching in Unity since I've been with the company how we've been improving our light mapping, sort of going from quite hard to set up and slow to get results to, wow, I can get progressive results. And then this demo, and these numbers were sort of insane. We're basically using 160 million rays here for a 2 million texel light map, but the results are coming back in seconds. So you can basically update your look and feel, change the color of your floor, for example, here, and just see those results immediately. And it's not just about working in closed environments. It's also super fast for outdoor environments as well. So the roadmap for all of this great technology, 2018.1, dropping a whole pile of really cool pieces. So the tools to support you with the shader graph editor, the progressive light mapper. The SRP pipelines will be in preview. 18.2, updating our terrain. I talked about that a bit earlier. The VFX editor, obviously it comes into play here. And then by the end of the year, our GPU accelerated light mapper. Okay, platforms. So we obviously support an absolute amazing array of platforms. So really, our strategy here is really just about deepening our platform support, really solving the platforms, making sure that they really are optimized and do what you want them to. For mobile, big focus for us internally is really about what we call ergonomics, developer ergonomics, and that's just the iteration time. It's just getting results quickly onto the phone and being able to debug, profile. It's really important to us. Obviously, improving the device coverage and the graphics pipeline, all the runtime resource usage. And specifically around iteration time, we'll be releasing what we're going to call our dataless player next year. So this is just where you can run basically your executable on the phone and serve your assets across the wire. And it really lets you do really rapid iteration. And addressable assets or build configs, this is all going to really, your quality of life in terms of developing on mobile is going to go up. And you'll see a lot more from us in the middle of the year on this. In terms of mobile roadmap, so PostFX, ARM64 support, and our LT pipeline are all going to be shipping as preview. We expect those then to land as part of our 18.2 release, including some of the new debugging workflows for IL2CPP. And then later in the year, we'll be, in terms of the focus, really tuning in the job system to run well on mobile, Vulkan native rendering, and then lots of support around our configurations. Okay, the other platform I'm only going to call out two, which is mobile and XR, because there's some really cool stuff. You would have seen some announcements yesterday around Magic Leap and Oculus Go. So we're absolutely committed to keeping to expand our device integrations. And obviously, once you're in, providing lots of utilities. So we're going to be shipping XR utilities this year, which deals with things like interaction in XR and best practices getting started. Focus, of course, on rendering performance and iteration times. So what's the roadmap look like? 18.1, we've got the stereo capture, so record both an editor and player for 360. We'll have a Resonance, Google's Resonance audio support. That's going to be fully integrated with Unity. HoloLens runtime in 18.2. Obviously, Magic Leap technical preview available today. Sorry, should have mentioned that. So runtime remoting is a big deal for us. Being able to do essentially what we could do with Unity 10 years ago for mobile, but for AR. So there's just this concept of really, truly multi-platform development for AR is going to be really exciting. Input system gets a big update this year, and you'll see that land into all of our platforms. So that's owned by our platform team. So XR input system in 18.2, and then later in the year, these new editor utilities for really improving how you build XR experiences. Okay, so we're nearing the end. The last two sections are just some quick updates on our connected games. So we have a strategy to really put together everything you need to build and run online games in Unity. And you would have seen some of the first pieces of this landing in. So Joachim talked about how we're going to enable networking by default, essentially, with our entity component system. And we're going to be building out the tools, the services, and the support then to allow you to target just the really common use cases for multiplayer games. First thing that you saw us do was we welcomed in multiplay into the Unity family. And this is a really awesome service for game server hosting for real-time multiplayer. They have like 24/7, 365 support, lots of really cool tools, and a really, really amazing infrastructure for running in the cloud. And the last area is our developer services. So again, we really see this like, very simply, it's the nerve center for your team and your audience. And we're going to be investing a lot of time in this year. What I want to talk to you about today is just an update on Unity Teams. So we have 60,000 people using Unity Teams today. So for those that don't know, this is our our collaboration and cloud build technology. And what we're seeing are kind of two general use cases here. The sort of small and the indie community, like big users of this. What they're looking for are things like, where we're investing is real-time commenting, being able to do communication, and then really focus on just the robustness and scalability. And then for larger teams who are coming on board, branching, caching, being able to really efficiently work, maybe integrations with our with well-known production tracking systems like Jira and so on. So that is the whirlwind view. There's lots of really cool deep dives we're doing this week. I advise all of you to come and engage with us. There is a few minutes for some Q&A. So there's a few of the PMs dotted around here. I'd love to take some questions. What are your impressions? What did you love? Does it look good? There's some thumbs up here. Good. Anybody have any specific questions they'd like to throw out? There's one here. If you'd like to use the mic.
Is this on? So I know you just went over the whole roadmap, but I know this part wasn't included. But I know your guys' experimental nav mesh stuff that you guys host on GitHub that you can just pull into Unity. Are there any plans for that getting integrated into the base of Unity, or are you guys still working on that type of technology?
Yeah, I mean, we're working on that. Like, we definitely, like some of the teams, when they had the ability to use like a package managed system work in GitHub, it was kind of a freedom for them as well. So we do have some of these cases where people are out, and we're bringing some of that technology back into the core. So yeah, that'll be on the cards. I don't have an ETA for that, though.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So regarding the HD render pipeline, so if I start a project with that and then later decide that I need a mobile version of it, what's the process like for switching down to the lightweight version?
Yep. So, Arissa, do you want to? I mean, you probably have the single source of truth. So, Arissa is our product manager for graphics here.
Can you move it from the speaker a little bit, please? Can I what?
Use this one.
No, just move and don't talk in front of the speaker, please. Go ahead.
Turned on. Will you repeat the question because I only heard the last half of that?
So switching from HD
Yeah, so
to
if I use the HD render pipeline and then later decide that I need the lightweight version, the process of switching between them?
So it will kind of depend on what you've done because a lot of it's just like HD is very featureful and has a bunch of like unique light types like line light, color temperature on lights, and a bunch of different things, iridescence. So you can make that switch, and you're mostly just changing all of your shaders and the materials that you're using, and you can just kind of do that conversion. In a way, it's actually easier to go from like lightweight to HD because you're adding features, whereas HD to lightweight, things will get lost. And you'll have to kind of rethink how you've authored your assets to some extent. It's a bit like going from like linear to gamma color space because things will just like look a bit different and handle a bit different.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rissa.
Yeah, you can. Whoa, I'm loud. So the console roadmap, is there someone else that can touch on that, like someone I can talk to afterwards? Because it seems not as important as the mobile and the XR right now, so I want to make sure
Yeah,
that
I
there's
mean,
still
to
focus
be honest,
there.
it's super important for us. I just had to compress everything into this time. So yeah, I mean, we have some people here. It's probably worth digging in. Obviously, the other thing about console is it typically is a somewhat of an NDA conversation as well. So if you want to hang on, we can update you afterwards. But yeah, please do know console, PC, desktop equally as important to us as everything else.
So yeah, I'm really excited about the package manager and just the whole engine becoming modular, basically. And I was wondering if that was something that's going to be expanded to third parties, basically other packages that are now coming from Unity for like asset store developers, for instance.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's the vision for this. We're obviously using it internally, dog fooding it, working with it. By the end of the year, we could have as much as 150 packages of our own on that system. And then the plan for 2019 will be to broaden this out to third parties. I mean, it's basically how Unity will be composed and managed and deployed.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I had a question about the performance on the shader graph. So is there any way that an author would be able to tell how they're affecting perf by just dropping in another node?
It's a good question. Oh, Arissa's gone. She knew you were going to ask that. So I know we announced a bunch of different performance tooling. I don't know specifically off the top of my head how we're dealing with it sort of in the workflow of the shader graph. So I'd have to get back to you. If you can hang on, let me know. Just drop me your card or something. I'll follow up with you. Any other takers? I think there's a bit of time afterwards, so I don't think there's a session on immediately after this, so feel free just to come up if you want to ask some questions one-on-one. We have a couple of the PMs who haven't run away still here to talk to. So listen, thank you so much. It's great to give us a chance to communicate a roadmap and enjoy the rest of GDC.